Hello there, Aquarius. So welcome. I hope this video finds you well, and thank you so much for joining me. First of all, this is a little bit of a meditative type of a read, okay? It's going to touch on a very long time span in your life. And so when I said meditative read, it's going to touch on many deep-rooted subjects and ideas and themes that you've been grappling with for quite some time. As you all know, the month of March 2020 is there's a Mercury retrograde period. And I feel like this Mercury retrograde period is forcing you to reflect on and think back on many important events that have transpired in your life. A lot of the decisions that you've made within the past few years. And I feel that you are coming to terms with those decisions. You are coming to terms with the things that have happened in the past, how I guess like how events unfolded and how you yourself have either let events unfold or have been a catalyst for which events have happened in your life. Okay, so it's a very meditative read, and it is also a lot about, you know, thinking about the past and trying to come to terms with and kind of reconcile with your own past and the decisions that you've made in the past. Okay, I feel like it can be a little bit of a heavy read, so if you are watching this, I want you to bear with me. And I feel like a lot of things are coming up in this spread, so it might take me a little bit of time to, you know, find the right way to transition between one subject to the next. Okay, so first of all, when I was shuffling out this spread, I saw a pond, and the pond I'm seeing, like, it's you know, there's a lot of mud. Okay, it's made of murky water. Okay, so the water itself, it's like brown and brackish, and it's not very pleasant. It's not clean and clear and pleasant to look at, and you know, aesthetically pleasing to the eye. And I see a bunch of lily pads in the water, and at the center of this pond there is a white lotus, like a white, either a lotus flower or a lily. I feel like it's more of a lotus flower. It's big, and the lily pads themselves are really big. And the lotus flower is blooming, and it's in the middle of this pond. Okay, and so when I saw this, immediately I was thinking, you know, hardship brings about, like, hardships build character is the first image that comes to mind. And the other message that came through as well is, I feel like, you know, in the most dire situation or in the most dire circumstance, something good can be built out of it. Okay, so I feel like it's a renewal, regeneration, and it's a message that screams out to me like meditative peace. Okay, finding that I feel like whatever it is that you're going through for the month of March 2020, you're finally coming to terms with that. You're finally accepting that. And in the process of doing so, you're able to find a lot of peace and to be able to be at peace within yourself. Okay, it is a very rare thing for an Aquarius person to kind of like sit in peace, because, you know, your mind races, right? You always ruminate and wonder about the past, and you always walk down memory lane in your own mind and in your own thoughts. And I feel like for you to finally reach this state where you feel at peace, it's taken a long time, and it was a very difficult road, but I feel like this is pretty much bringing about that meditative peace that I'm seeing here. So let me talk about a few things. Okay, so I feel like the cards are split up like this, two at a time. That's what it feels like to me. So let me talk about the way the energies are playing out in these cards. So first of all, I do see you looking back at your past. Okay, there were situations where I feel like this impulsiveness to get things done, to be decisive, move ideas and act on ideas. It's like moving things from the realm of ideas to the realm of the real world. So like acting on your ideas, bringing your ideas forth into the world. See what floats and see what sinks. Okay. And so I feel like there might have been an impulsiveness about you, or like wanting very badly to move on ahead despite not knowing all the information. Okay. And I feel like for many of you, this is like, you know, a culmination of things that happened within the last 5 years. And I feel like the 5-year mark was quite important for many of you, because that was when you felt like your life really accelerated. Okay, that was when you felt like a lot of decisions, important decisions, had to be made in your home, in your love life, in your financial situation, and especially in your professional life. And so I feel like you had to be quick on the uptake. You had to grab life by the horns. You have to really go out there and put yourself out there to find opportunities, and, you know, pretty much grabbing opportunities as they come in. And I feel like in the process of grabbing these opportunities, you didn't know whether or not something is going to be a good fit. You didn't know how things were going to transpire a few years down the line. And I feel like for many of you, you acted on pure instinct. Okay, it's just kind of like, what do I want in this moment in time? And I felt like whatever it was, you went for it. And I feel like there might have been some, you know, unintended consequences as a result of it. Okay, some of you might have rushed into situations, especially like with people, relationships, and things like that, where you didn't know all the information. You didn't know what it entailed. You didn't know the other person too well. Okay, and what's really bringing that bringing home that message to me here is we have the 8 of Swords, and the 8 of Swords is pretty much like this bird, blindfolded. Not having all the information at your disposal, not knowing what's around the corner, not knowing how the paths are going to be played out or are going to unfurl ahead of you, and not knowing what the future is going to bring. And we have the Ace of Swords, and this is pretty much, you know, acting on or making a decision when we don't have full access to all the information. Okay, when we don't have the full knowledge, when we don't have the full disclosure. So I feel like for the past 5 years, many of you were in this state where you felt like very passionately guided towards something, either a career change, either a relationship. And I'm seeing a lot of you mesmerized or even taken in by a relationship partner who was very exciting, who was very exotic, possibly somebody who's very different from you, like culturally, ethnically, linguistically. I feel a sense of somebody who hails from a foreign land, or somebody who is just, you know, very, very different from you when it comes to their upbringing. And the way in which they come into your life here with the Knight of Wands, this is someone who's just very passionate, who stirs your passion, and who brings about, you know, a new way of doing, a new way of thinking, a paradigm shift in your life for many of you. And I feel like in a way they're very, very different from you, and that makes them quite interesting. And as a result of it, I feel like for many of you, you dove into a situation quickly, and you didn't think about, you know, all the consequences. I feel like for many of you, this was a situation where I'm sensing that this person might have been very in and out of your life. Okay, they, you know, with the Knight of Wands energy, they're not the most stable people. They're very fun and exciting, but they're kind of here today, gone tomorrow. They're not somebody that will be there when things get rough. They're not going to stick around when, you know, when you need them. They're not going to be there with a shoulder to lean on when you have a bad day, or when things are not going your way, when you need to vent, when you need that emotional reassurance. This is pretty much not the right person that's going to be around to do that. And I feel as if whatever the dynamics of this relationship is, I'm sensing that it's lacking in soul and it's lacking in passion. And I also feel like even though some of you could be in a relationship with this person, might have been in a relationship with this person, the dynamics of the relationship was very much like you felt alone. You felt like they didn't understand you. And you felt like there were times where you needed that emotional connection or that emotional reassurance or that emotional understanding from the other person. You wanted that and you needed that. But for whatever reason, they were not there. They were not available. And I feel like for many of you, they might not have made themselves available. Okay. And I feel like what it boils down to is, Aquarius, you pride yourself on being very independent and very self-sufficient, right? And I also feel like you are not a type of person where you need emotional reassurance, where you need reassurance, you need affirmation, you need the positive feedback. You're not that type because, you know, once again, this is a card about decisiveness. This is a card about relying on what we know to make decision. Okay, Ace of Swords. Making the executive decisions without needing to consult anybody. So this is pretty much your energy as you walk through life. You know where you stand, you know how you feel, you know what you think, and you know what you believe in. And as a result of that, you have always been the one to make executive decisions without needing to bounce ideas off another person, or without even needing to another person to kind of like tell you you're on the right path. And because you have been always very independent, this is your card, the Star. I feel like the other person kind of took that for granted. They kind of felt like, oh, Aquarius doesn't really need me. The Aquarius doesn't need my my affirmation, or they don't need my reassurance, or they don't really need me. And so I feel like in this situation, it's sort of like two people who are very independent, wanting to do their own things. And in a relationship, it might have been very difficult for these two people to work together. So the energy and the dynamics between you and this person, I just feel like it created an emotional rift, and you might not have known how the emotional rift started. You might not have known, you know, how they perceive you. They might not have known how you perceive them. You both were not very aware of each other's needs in an emotional way. And they, more than anything, were not really aware that you needed them, that you needed the constant reassurance. You don't ask for it. You don't need it on a regular basis. But when you need it, they were not there. Okay, so the bottom line is, when you needed them for something, this person was not there. And I feel like it created a situation where you tell yourself, you know, they're never around anyways. I don't need them. I can do it on my own. I can forge ahead. They're only going to slow me down. And so I feel like, you know, through those periods of disappointment when you were dealing with this person, I feel like it toughened your skin. You know, it made you a little bit callous, and it made you a little bit like, I don't need them. I don't need anybody. I can do this on my own. And so you embody that energy. So if this person is still in your life, you're coming to the realization that, you know what, they have never been around. Either it was subconscious on their end, like choosing not to be around, or either they didn't realize how important it was to me that they're around. And once again, you are not a needy sign, okay? You are not somebody who constantly wants attention and who constantly wants reassurance. But when you need that reassurance, it means a lot to you that the other person was there, but for whatever reason, they were not there. And I feel like you're coming to terms with that fact. And you're coming to terms with the fact that they were not around in the past. Who am I kidding? Who am I? You know, I need to kind of accept this at face value. And I just need to accept this person at face value, that I cannot rely on them. that I need to forge my own path. Okay, so I feel like this is, you know, a very significant relationship for many of you within the past 5 years. I feel for many of you, you might have like really jumped into this before you knew the other person really well. Okay, I feel like there was definitely lack of information here. There was definitely lack of like expectations, you know, being both parties were not very clear with expectations. And then I feel like there was, you know, a lot of passion, a lot of energy, a lot of kinetic energy. And you both found yourself kind of wrapped up in each other and kind of, it's like a whirlwind romance. And it took over. There was a lot of infatuation. But once again, this is like not seeing the person truly for who they are. Falling in love with somebody that it's like, you know, being in love with the idea of being in love, or being in love with the vision of what you thought the other person would be without knowing all the full information. And so you're looking back now at this situation with, in hindsight, you know, with clarity, with 2020 vision, and you're starting to see it for what it is. And I feel like if this, for many of you, you've come to terms with the fact that if this doesn't work out, if, you know, they're leaving my life, I'm okay with that. So once again, this sense of acceptance, this sense of peace, this sense of I'm okay on my own. I can make it on my own and I will be fine. I'm not going to let myself get disappointed again. And I'm really, truly seeing this person for who they are. Okay. So for many of you, I'm hearing, you know, like the mal-aligned expectations, okay? So if this is, for example, this is not a person, but like if it's a job situation for the past few years, I feel like you were kind of like your professional life and your career life meandered, okay? It's like, let me just dabble over here and see if this is a good fit. Let me dabble over there and see if that works out better. So I feel like it was, you know, jack of all trades, okay? Like trying to figure out your niche, trying to figure out where you fit in, trying to figure out what you're good at, and trying to figure out where you excel and what brings you emotional happiness. And I feel like for you, variety is the spice of life. You know, you enjoy having multiple projects going on at the same time. You enjoy like doing this, but also like having a main job, but also like a side gig. You enjoy juggling things. You enjoy having multiple avenues of creative expression. So for many of you, I feel like, you know, you're not stuck in just one job. You have a job, you have multiple hobbies, you have friends, you have like so many avenues for your creative expression. And as a result of that, you feel like one job can never fully emotionally satisfy you. For others of you, you feel like a regular 9-to-5 job will never, ever be in your future because it's not exciting enough. And then for others, you feel like one relationship partner will never be enough for you because you don't want things to be stagnant. So there is has been a major fear here of committing yourself, a major fear here about, you know, letting life stagnate, being stuck in one situation, one job, one circumstance, one relationship. And so I do feel like you were aware of, and I do sense for many of you, this might have been the past 3 years, you're aware of how your inability to commit or your fear of commitment has really gotten in the way of, you know, progress, okay? Or even stability in your own life. And I have here the Two of Pentacles, and this is, you know, pretty much that juggling act, okay? Having multiple things on your plate, having multiple projects, having multiple avenues of creative expression that really makes life very dynamic and exciting and interesting. But it can also create a state of anxiety. So just look at this creature. And what I'm sensing is too much of it can be a little bit exhausting to maintain. Too much of it can give us that sense of instability. Look at how his feet is off the ground, okay? He's always dashing to the next thing. He's always looking around. He's always like scanning the horizon for new opportunities and thinking about where the grass is greener. So being this jack of all trades, I feel like, the trade-off is that it brings about this sense of instability where you don't know something truly deeply, where you don't invest the time and the energy and the resources to build something, one solid thing from the ground up. And I feel for many of you, we have here the Judgment card, and this is kind of like that reckoning, that realization, being awakened to how this lack of commitment from your end could also be very detrimental to your own emotional stability. And it can be detrimental to the ways in which you can really enjoy your life and feel fulfilled, okay? Because once again, like I said, I do believe in like past life and reincarnation and things like that. And I feel like our soul's purpose in each lifetime is about mastering a lesson, mastering a skill, being very, very good at something, knowing something inside and out, and being able to master that. And once we master that, we have conquered pretty much our destiny. And so those lessons don't repeat. And then once we master something, we can take those skills to bring it to a next work environment, to bring it to a next life, to bring it to a next situation. And we will be able to handle life with a lot more ease and grace because we have mastered these lessons. And so you're starting to see now that, there's honor and there's a tremendous sense of pride that can come about as a result of doing something really, really, really well. No longer juggling, but mastering something and being very good at something and being kind of like an expert in your field where you know something inside and out. And then I also feel it can bleed into the relationship aspect where you're just like, I'm done with, the whole spiel, the whole dating situation, the whole finding somebody and then getting bored of them a few months later. And you're setting your intentions and looking for something that is a little bit more authentic and a little bit more real and a deeper, much deeper emotional connection. Because like I said, this is a relationship where you did not know the other person very well. You jumped into a situation thinking that emotions and all of that and excitement should be enough to propel the relationship forward. But then you're starting to realize that, it was really lacking in emotional connection, emotional connectedness, and emotional fulfillment pretty much, okay? So we have here a bunch of lessons and a bunch of self-realizations, things that you are finding out about yourself, things that you are coming to terms with from your past, things that you have, your eyes have been open to, okay? And so this is where you were, and I feel like you're still thinking about this heavily. How could I rush into a situation so strongly? People were warning you. I feel, Seven of Swords here. This is about, all the things in your external environment, family, friends, co-workers, confidants, colleagues, whoever it is that you really respect their whose opinions and point of view you really respect. I feel like they told you about a specific course of action, and I feel like they were giving you advice. They were telling you or trying to steer you in a specific direction. And as independent as you are, Aquarius, I feel that you beat to the you walk to the beat of your own drums, and I feel that you like to find out things, you like to experience things, you like to be in the driver's seat in your own life, and I feel like you were not listening. Okay, you needed to experience these things, and so they did happen for a reason, for you to figure out what works for you to be nimble enough and to be, smart enough to figure out, you know what, I need to change the course of action because this is not working out for me, or I need to really slow this down because I feel like I don't know the other person, or I need to really invest my time and be patient so that I can delve deep and really master something. So there was a lot of like periods with in time within the past 5 years where you had warning signs, where you were given, you know, advice, and to either change a course of action or to do something a specific way. And I feel that the people that really cared about you, they truly know you inside and out. They know how stubborn you can be. And I feel like the people that really cared about you, they did not want to infringe upon your free will. They didn't want to impose their ideas and whatever they thought you should do. They cared about you enough to kind of like, you know, take a loving detachment stance and not give you the information that they think you should know. And I feel like a lot of it was, you know, this is your journey. They didn't want to interfere. And I also felt like you were not asking the right people for advice, for their honest assessment. And I also feel like no matter what and who is telling you the information, you wanted to figure out and you wanted to experience things. So the advice, the guidance, the, you know, whatever they wanted to say, it would have fallen on deaf ears, okay? So what I'm saying here is, don't beat yourself over this, because this is something that you need to experience. This is something that you needed to live. And this is something that you needed to, you know, figure out for yourself. Now, we are emerging into, you know, the Saturn transit. And Saturn just left the previous sign, which is Capricorn, your neighbors, and Saturn is moving into the sign of Aquarius, and it's going to be there for the next 3 years, okay, 2.5, 3 years. And the month of March and April, we're going to be feeling this heaviness. And the heaviness is about, you know, really thinking about these important decisions in our lives. Like, I'm talking big, large, long-term affecting important decisions, okay? It's not just what am I going to eat for lunch tomorrow. These are like long-term planning that we need to do. Where do we want to be for the next 5 years? Where do we want to live? Who do we want to be with? What career track are we going to pursue? So these are like big, important life decisions that are kind of laid out in front of you. And you need to know where you have been and what you've learned from them so that you can figure out where you want to go. And so this sense of nostalgia, this sense of like, you know, walking down memory lane, thinking about the past, as well as thinking about, you know, what we did in the past, how that transpired, how that played out, whether or not it was the right thing to do. All of these important decisions or all of these important reflections are required, because you're now in a new phase and you really need to be more serious about the decisions that you make moving into the future, because they have long-term ramifications in your life. And I feel like they are going to weigh heavily in either making your future incredibly prosperous and happy, or they might, you know, create a lot of obstacles in your life. So this is an important month, because this whole process about reflecting on the past, thinking about things that transpired in the past, how we could have done things differently, how we could have, you know, not idealized people and situations, and how we could be a little bit better, like a little bit more discerning about what and who is right for us and what we should need to pursue in order to be happy. So I definitely feel there is a desire from your end about, you know, truly seeking emotionally stable people. Okay, you're naturally drawn to people who are a little bit more on the eccentric end, who are a little bit weird and quirky and unique, but these people might not entirely be stable. And I feel like they're exciting, but they have never filled your emotional needs. And so you're aiming for more harmony, for more of an emotional connection, for that sense of emotional connectedness in your surrounding and in the people that you interact with. And I feel like, you know, it's more about quality over quantity. You're no longer bouncing around trying to, you know, have myriads of partners and trying to figure out where you stand and what works for you. You're done with the experimentation. You know exactly who you want to be with, and you know exactly what you're seeking in a relationship partner. So once you are aware of what you really want, that's when the partner shows up, okay? So I feel like in this phase in your life, and especially for the next cycle of your life, you're seeking more emotional fulfillment, and you want a partner that is your equal, that is your match, that will reciprocate in an emotional way, that will be emotionally available to you, that will be dependable, and that will kind of like be able to know what you need without you having to express yourself. So I feel like you're no longer conflicted about this, okay? The other thing that is coming through as well is I feel like for many of you, you're thinking heavily about your finances, okay? So this is here, the Four of Pentacles, and the Four of Pentacles is all about building a foundation. It's about clinging on to, you know, the earthly possessions so that we can figure out and have a strategy and have a game plan as to how we can make our money work for us. I feel like for the past 2 months, January and February of 2020, money has been kind of like slipping your fingers. It's like grasping at sand, and the grains of sand just slip through the cracks in your hands, okay? So I have 2 cards here that indicates, you know, financial fluctuation, things coming and going, and potentially for many of you, it's like you're scattering your energy, you're doing a lot of different projects, but I feel like these projects were not yielding whatever it was that you were expecting. And then for others of you, I see like a lot of overspending, a lot of unintended expenditures, a lot of like you were counting on having this much money, but then something happened and then you're paid less, or you thought this amount would come in, but for whatever reason, a smaller amount came in or none at all. So I feel like there's a lot of financial reassessment here and a lot of financial planning that needs to happen for the next phase in your life, because I feel like for many of you, this is important. For many of you, this is like, you know, you have several things and responsibilities, real life responsibilities to take care of. And so you need to kind of like sit down with, you know, your Excel spreadsheet, your ledger, your bank accounts, your statements, to figure out how much it is that you're really bringing home and how much you're spending, so that you can kind of like, you know, balance out the checkbook, okay? So I do feel a lot more thinking and your mind is crunching numbers as it relates to your financial resources, because you understand how important that is, okay? And then I also feel as well, so these 2 cards are related. We have here the Four of Pentacles and the High Priestess. And what I'm getting here is there is a situation where you're wanting a specific outcome very, very, very badly, okay? Look at how tightly she's holding on to that lobster to her chest. This is like a very strong emotional decision that you are making. And Aquarius, you are not a very emotional sign. You are a very rational sign. You think with your head and you don't think with your heart. But I feel like there is a situation here. And I feel like for many of you, it is in regards to a relationship partner, okay? Appearing with the Two of Cups. It is an emotional connection that you feel is your kindred, your one and only. This is the person that you feel a very strong magnetic attraction and pull and a soul connection with. And I feel for many of you, you have a really hard time letting it go. It's still very much, this person is still very much in your thoughts, in your mind, in your heart. And I feel like the feelings associated with this person, it can feel very heavy. It can feel a little bit tragic. It can feel a little bit sad. Okay? It's a love connection. Two of Cups, High Priestess is a love connection. And I do sense like you're having trouble letting it go. You're having trouble thinking it's like in your mind, the connection is very strong, right? And you're just like, if I feel this way, then why isn't, why aren't the results showing in the real world? If my emotions tell me that this is the one, why isn't the reality reflecting that? Why aren't they aware of that? Why aren't circumstances conspiring to bring us together? And I feel like this is an emotional connection that can bring with it like prickly thorns. It can be a little bit heavy. It can feel a little bit tragic. I'm getting tragedy for some reason. And I feel like, it's a situation where there might be third parties involved, for example, where the other person might already be in a relationship. Or, if you're in a relationship and you're attracted to somebody outside of that relationship, then I feel like there's some kind of like a star-crossed romance or a star-crossed lovers where your paths are not really aligned in a way that will allow the relationship to kind of like work naturally. I also feel like one of the reasons why you are feeling this heavy, really heavy weight in your heart is energetically the other person is not willing to let you go, okay? Four of Pentacles, this is the miser. This is clinging on to a situation, and I feel like this is an emotional, spiritual connection where the other person is also not able to let you go. So they're feeling the same way that you are feeling. They're feeling this weight on their heart. They're feeling the restrictions of their external environment. Either their culture, their belief system, their family, their obligations, their financial resources, whatever it is, there's a lot of things weighing on them. It's like creating these shackles, all right? These gold shackles, earthly possessions, wealth, money, power, prestige, whatever it is. It's disallowing them from breaking free from these shackles to come towards you. And so I'm sensing that's why it's a little bit tragic, because these are earthly responsibilities that the other person cannot get right, cannot extract themselves from in order to be with you. And so you don't really have a choice here but to, try to move from it. And you're wondering, why is it so hard? Why am I having so much difficulty moving away from this? And it's because energetically they're clinging on to you. They're clinging on to this connection. And then I'm also feeling as well, for many of you, somebody really wants to be with you, and yet they're not able to unshackle themselves from these restrictions in order to move towards you. They really want to, Aquarius. I feel that they really want to. They recognize that this is a true, real love connection here. Two of Cups is a really big deal when it comes to love and relationship, because it is about compatibility. It's about, not only loving another person, but really liking the other person, really enjoying their company, really wanting the best for them, really like, when you're with the other person, the two of you feel very calm and very at peace, okay? It's a hard, it's not something that you encounter in every person. It indicates to me kind of like a soul connection, a soul contract, or even a person that you might have had many different reincarnations in the past. And so you feel comfortable and familiar when you're around each other. It's like your soul recognizes each other. And it feels very at peace. And I feel like you've never felt this sense of peace with another person. And there's something here where the other person really does want to come towards you. And I feel like they have restrictions that are shackling them, and they're not able to break away from it in order to be with you. And a lot of it is finance related. I feel like they're very concerned about their finances. They're very concerned about what they have and what they don't. And they're very concerned about, it's like somebody who's really afraid of having the rug ripped out from under them. And let's just be honest, Aquarius, you're very unpredictable. Okay, and so I feel like they're looking at you, and they still think of, like, you know, deep down you're a fixed sign. You are very reliable, but they also see that lightning streak in you where it can be really abrupt and it can be very difficult to understand. It can come out of the blue and it can be very unpredictable, and so they're not really sure which Aquarius they're going to get. They're not really sure, you know, at the end of the day, am I getting the stable Aquarius or the one that is unpredictable? And so I feel like, you know, there are a lot of financial maneuvering and decisions that they have to make in order to be with you. And I feel like they want to, but there's a lot of fear associated with it, okay? Because the Four of Pentacles, once again, this is a card about self-protection, okay? Not letting people in, and especially hanging on very, very tightly to our earthly possessions. And out of fear, out of, you know, fear of losing it all, out of lack of uncertainty is what I'm feeling. And I do sense for many of you, if you are, you know, thinking about like your financial future, I do sense that you are going to be dipping into different projects, having a main job and a side gig, or having multiple side gigs in order to piece together a 9-to-5 job or to piece together enough money. So I do feel that the financial situation, it is going to alleviate if you are concerned about that. Okay, so at the end of the reading, what we have here is the Judgment card and the Two of Pentacles. I feel like for many of you, where you are right now financially, it's stable and it's pretty good, okay, with the Two of Pentacles here. But there might be something that is calling out to you, that is really speaking out to you, and that is kind of like luring you in, okay? So I feel like you're trying to figure out, you know, do I take this one or do I take the other one? Do I stay here with this job or do I take something else? And there is going to be news and communication and messages coming through as it relates to a major financial decision. It could be work related, it could be job related, it could be, you know, a new career path even for many of you. So I feel like you're really listening to your intuition, and many of you, I feel, are even willing to take a major salary cut in order to do something that makes you happier. Many of you are even willing to, you know, relocate in order to do something that makes you a lot more emotionally fulfilled. Many of you are no longer chasing that financial stability if your heart is not in it. And then I also feel for many of you, you're also on the opposite end of the spectrum where you're just like, I don't care about the ideals anymore. I need to really buckle down and get serious about my financial future. So that means you might even take a job, even if you're not 100% happy with it. So I feel like, you know, you both are like, for a lot of Aquarius, you might be on opposite ends of the spectrum where you're a lot more concerned about money and you're no longer idealistic. I don't want to take these, you know, feel good jobs if they're not bringing me that financial stability. And so you might compromise or sacrifice the emotional fulfillment doing a job that you love for doing something that will bring a lot more financial resources. Okay, so I definitely feel like there is a turnaround here in the ways in which you're looking at life. And a lot of it has to, it's like realization and epiphanies and awakening and being shown, you know, things from the past wherein you start to understand the past and you started to understand the decisions and the choices that you've made in the past. And coming into present day, you're coming to terms with how those decisions have panned out for you, whether or not they worked, whether or not you should replicate those decisions, whether or not you need to change your strategy, or whether or not, you know, those decisions did not work and why they did not work. A lot of it, I feel, is kind of like this impulsive jump in, ask questions later, and you might have realized that it might not have worked out for you. And then I also feel there are instances where you went on blind faith. You listened to your heart and things worked out really well. And you're starting to realize that, you know, that worked out well for me because I listen to my higher self. Okay, so I feel like there's a lot of awakening, awareness, reflection, and just coming to this state of peace about your life. Okay, so once again, let me talk a little bit about that lotus flower, because I feel like that's what the star is really about. It's about renewal, it's about healing, it's about coming into this state of calmness where you're recognizing your true path, you're recognizing who is dotted along the way in your path in life, and who is kind of like helping you along the way, and who's meant for you to bring forward with into your future, as well as what job, what career, what mindset, what decisions are meant to be carried on with into the future. Okay, so Aquarius, I hope I haven't lost you guys, and I hope this reading finds you well. I hope that it, provides whatever clarity and information and answers that you need. Okay, I hope that it is relevant to what you're dealing with, so that you can find a path forward. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have had a very happy birthday time so far. So for those who are interested in readings, I have mentioned in all of my videos, and I'm still getting emails. I'm no longer doing private readings. I don't have the time. I cannot, I have a full-time job, and I'm also doing this on the side because I enjoy it, and I really don't have the time for personal reading, so I apologize. If you are interested in a reading, I do have a link in the description box below for a psychic. Her name is Bridget, and she's based out of California. I highly recommend that you get a reading with her. And for those who are interested in art and, supporting local artists, I do have a link in the description box below for an artist based out of California. She has some amazing artwork. And if you want to, check out her website, make a purchase and things like that, support your local artists. And the drawings the paintings are really, really nice. Okay, so those links are in the description box below. I will leave you at that. Have a very wonderful rest of February, and enjoy your March 2020. And I wish you all the best. Okay, take care.